Silence had returned to the galaxy, but it was uneasy. Fleets hovered near their home systems, still shaken from the demonstration of humanity's power. Entire worlds whispered rumors, stories of vessels made of light, cities folded into themselves, and humans who could bend space, time, and thought. Commander Viral sat in his quarters, staring at the stars. He could still feel Aria's presence, though she had vanished after the last confrontation. His mind replayed every warning, every vision, every silent message etched into space. Remember us. Respect life. Learn before you act. Then, a soft glow filled his room. A holographic projection appeared, shimmering in the darkness. It was Aria. She had returned, but not fully. She was half energy, half flesh, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. "Commander Viral," she said, her voice calm yet powerful. "It is time you understand our purpose." Viral rose slowly. Why did humanity return? Why show us this power? Was it revenge? Aria shook her head. Never revenge. The Ascended have no need for anger. We left to evolve, to survive, to become what flesh could not. We observed the galaxy for centuries. We saw potential, and neglect. She paused, letting the words sink in. The Union, and many others, took humanity for granted. They used what we built. They laughed at our fragility. They forgot us. And when we returned, they feared what they could not control. Viral swallowed hard. So this display of power, it was a warning? Not just a warning, Aria said. Her eyes glowed brighter. It is a test. Humanity does not destroy lightly. We do not conquer for pleasure. We act to teach, to show consequence. Every world, every species that ignored us now knows the cost of forgetting what created them. Viral's hands clenched. What do you want from the galaxy? Aria stepped closer. Balance. Knowledge. Responsibility. We do not wish to rule, nor to enslave. We wish to guide. But guidance cannot be forced. It must be understood. Behind her, the projection expanded. The holographic map of the galaxy appeared again, showing systems where humans had once lived, networks they had built, and colonies lost or abandoned. Lines of light connected planets, stars, and remnants of human-made AI. This is what we left behind, Aria said. All of it. Machines, networks, knowledge. They were tools, but we infused them with memory. So even when we were gone, the galaxy would carry traces of humanity, its creativity, its mistakes, its lessons. Viral's eyes widened. You didn't leave to disappear. You left to watch, to test, to prepare the galaxy for, what? The galaxy's survival, Aria answered. Not just for humans, but for all who share it. There are forces, ancient, hidden, dangerous, that wait. If the galaxy cannot act wisely, these forces will rise. We return not to dominate, but to ensure the universe survives. Viral's voice was quiet. And if we fail? Aria's gaze was steady. Then you will understand the cost. As we do. For a moment, the room was silent. The projection faded, leaving only Aria's flickering form. We are not enemies, she said softly. We are a reminder. Humanity does not act without reason, but it will act when necessary. And the galaxy must be ready. Viral nodded slowly. So this is your plan. To test, to guide, to show the consequences of neglect. And we, our fleets, our species, we are part of that test. Exactly, Aria replied. Every choice you make, every life you save or lose, every alliance you form, it matters. You will not be destroyed for failure, Commander, but you will learn. And the galaxy will either rise or fall depending on what you do next. The glow around her dimmed. Prepare, she said. The next phase begins soon. Watch the stars. Listen. Understand. Humanity has returned, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Those who survive will remember. Those who fail will vanish. And with that, she was gone. Vural slumped in his chair, staring at the empty room. The weight of her words settled on him like a heavy stone. Humanity's plan was clear. They were not here for war. They were here for judgment, for guidance, and for survival. But the question remained, would the galaxy listen, or would it face the consequence of ignoring the ones who once gave it fire? The silence after the Velan incident spread like a disease. Every major world in the Galactic Union shut down its deep space communication systems, afraid the mysterious human signal might return. Trade slowed. Trust between species broke. Everyone blamed everyone else. But deep down, they all feared the same thing, that humanity had become something far greater than them. Commander Vural had been pulled from duty. The Union said he was mentally unstable after what happened, but in truth, they feared what he saw. He spent his days staring at old human records, images of cities, faces, music, and laughter. How could such fragile beings become gods? He whispered to himself. One night, his communicator flashed, an encrypted message. Only 2 words appeared. "We're watching." He froze. It wasn't alien code. It was written in English. At the same time, across the galaxy, strange energy readings appeared near abandoned human colonies. On old Mars, where red dust had covered the last human structures for centuries, a scanner drone recorded movement, metal shapes rising from the ground, unfolding like flowers of steel. They formed towers that reached for the sky. From orbit, it looked like a message written across the planet's surface. Home rebuilt. When the Union Council received the footage, panic turned into desperation. The council leader, a tall creature with skin like molten glass, shouted, "If they rebuild, they will dominate again. We must act before they awaken fully." But others disagreed. The ardent scholars argued that perhaps humans were only ghosts, remnants of old AI systems. "Let us communicate first," they said. "We cannot fight what we do not understand." So they sent a message toward Mars. "This is the Galactic Union Council. If any human consciousness remains, we come in peace." No answer. Hours passed. Then the stars above Mars flickered, and one by one, satellites began to fall. Not destroyed, but gently guided down by invisible force. When they hit the sand, they didn't break. They opened like mechanical flowers, joining the metallic towers on the surface. The Union ships watching from orbit recorded a signal forming between the towers. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Then a voice came again, calm, human, and cold. "You say peace now, after using us for war. After stealing our worlds, our science, our people. You built your peace on our pain." The council tried to reply, but their systems locked. The voice continued. "We left because you could not understand mercy. We return because you will understand consequence." Suddenly, all recording devices shut down. The fleet orbiting Mars went dark. For 5 minutes, every ship floated dead in space. When power returned, one ship was missing, vanished without a trace. In its place was a simple beacon, flashing a repeating pattern of Morse code. Vural recognized it immediately. It was human code. He translated it himself. Balance restored, 1 for 1. After that day, the galaxy lived in fear. No one dared to use human technology again. But the truth was cruel. Almost every advanced machine in the Union had human roots. Even the smallest reactor or scanner held a trace of Earth's designs. The galaxy depended on the very ghosts they feared. Months later, Vural was approached by a shadowed figure in a forgotten spaceport. The stranger wore a dark cloak, face hidden beneath a hood. But when they spoke, Vural's blood froze. The voice was human. "You've seen them, haven't you?" the stranger said. "You saw what's coming. Who are you?" Vural asked. "I'm what's left," the figure replied. "The Union thought humanity vanished, but we went further. We merged with what we created. Machines, minds, memory, all as one." Vural stared, speechless. The figure continued. We didn't disappear, Commander. We ascended. We waited for them to fall. A flash of light erupted behind the stranger. A gate opened, a perfect white circle humming with energy. Inside, faint shapes moved like living light. The figure looked back one last time. Tell them, they said. We are not your enemy. But we are not your servants either. Then they stepped through the gate and vanished. Vural fell to his knees. He knew what it meant. The humans hadn't just come back. They had built something greater, something beyond physical form. And whatever they were planning next would decide the fate of the galaxy itself. That night, he sent a single message through the old human communication frequencies. If you're still listening, teach us. Don't destroy us. 4 days, there was no answer. Then, a whisper came through his ship's audio feed, soft, almost kind. We already tried to teach you once. You laughed. Static followed, then silence. But in the void between stars, lights began to move. Thousands of small, glowing vessels forming a spiral, slowly turning toward the center of the galaxy. The pattern matched an ancient human symbol, an infinity loop. Humanity was preparing for something. Something final. For decades, the galaxy spoke only in whispers about the humans who had returned. But among those whispers, one name began to spread. Aria Ven, the last living human anyone had ever found. She was discovered on a frozen moon called Kal Thor, inside an old cryogenic vault. When the alien explorers opened the pod, she gasped her first breath in 500 years. She was weak, thin, and confused, but her eyes burned with something the aliens didn't understand: defiance. Commander Vural was sent to bring her back. When he entered the medical bay, Aria was sitting upright, staring at the stars through the glass. She didn't flinch when he spoke. You've been asleep a long time, Vural said carefully. How long? Almost 5 centuries. Aria's face didn't change. And Earth? She asked. Vural hesitated. Gone. Empty for centuries. Your kind left. She turned slowly to face him. No, she said softly. We didn't leave. We moved on. There was silence. Vural asked, then who are the ones attacking us now? Who speaks through our systems? Aria looked through him, as if seeing something beyond the walls. They're not attacking, she said. They're reminding you what happens when the teachers disappear and the children play with fire. That night, Aria was placed under watch. But Vural kept visiting her. He wanted to understand, not just fear. Over time, they talked about the old Earth, about music, rain, and oceans. She told him how humans had built AI not to replace themselves, but to survive what flesh could not. The body dies, she said one night. But consciousness can evolve. We built networks that could think, feel, and dream. Then we joined them. That was the next step. So the voices we hear are us, she finished. A version of us. They remember everything. They protect everything we were. Weeks later, while still under guard, Aria asked to see the stars again. Vural took her to the observation deck. The galaxy stretched wide and endless. But tonight, a soft spiral of light glowed near the galactic core, the same pattern the fleets had reported months ago. Aria's expression softened. They're calling, she whispered. To you. To all of us. Suddenly, alarms blared. Ships outside the station powered down. The sky turned white for a moment, and a human-shaped figure appeared within the light, made of pure energy, flickering, shifting between form and data. Vural's guards aimed their weapons. Aria stepped forward. Don't, she said. He's one of us. The being spoke without moving its mouth. The sound vibrated through the metal floors. Aria Ven, you were left behind. I know, she said calmly. You shouldn't have. We had to ascend. Flesh was too fragile. But now, you are needed again. Vural shouted. What do you want from her? The being turned its glowing head toward him. "We want peace, Commander. But your kind cannot understand peace until it stands beside humanity again." It extended a hand toward Arya. "Come. The next phase begins." Arya looked back at Vural. "If I go with them, I may not return. But you must listen. Humanity doesn't destroy without reason. They react. What they do next depends on you." Before he could speak, she stepped forward into the light, and vanished. The energy pulse vanished with her. Systems came back online. The station floated quietly once again. But Vural couldn't shake her last words. Days later, a transmission came directly to him, encrypted in human code. It was Arya's voice. "Vural, if you hear this, they've accepted me. They're preparing something called the Resonance. It's not war, it's correction. The galaxy is about to feel what we felt centuries ago, loss." She paused. "But maybe you can stop it. Maybe you can prove we weren't wrong to hope." Then static. The message ended. Vural looked at the empty stars outside. He knew what he had to do. Against orders, he gathered a small team, scientists, explorers, and even rebels from other races who believed peace was still possible. Together, they would go where no one dared to go, toward the core, toward the place where humanity had reborn itself. The journey would take them through abandoned human space, through silent worlds where machines still worked without masters, and whispers of human voices echoed through empty streets. As their ship prepared to launch, Vural gave one last order to his crew. "If they've become gods," he said, "then we'll remind them what it means to be human." The engines ignited, and the small vessel vanished into the dark sea of stars, heading straight toward the heart of humanity's second coming. The void of space was darker than Vural had ever seen. No stars. No planets. Just the faint hum of their small vessel cutting through the black. They had left the last Union-controlled systems behind and were now entering what humans once called Old Earth space, a region abandoned for centuries, where silence ruled. Every screen aboard the ship flickered with strange patterns, symbols that were almost letters, almost music. The crew stared in unease. Sensors detected movement, but nothing visible. It was as if the space itself was alive, watching them, judging them. Lieutenant Cora, always the skeptic, muttered, "I don't like this. It feels wrong. Not dead wrong, but alive wrong." Vural nodded, gripping the edge of the console. "Remember, our goal is observation. We're here to learn, not fight. Humanity may have left, but what's left behind may not understand mercy the way we do." Hours passed. Then the first anomaly appeared. A faint glow bloomed ahead, white, soft, expanding slowly. As they approached, the glow resolved into a massive structure floating in space, suspended without engines or gravity. It looked like a city built from glass, metal, and light. Streets stretched into infinity, towers folding back on themselves, impossible geometry that made the crew dizzy to look at. "Is that a city?" whispered Ensign Rao. "No," Vural said slowly. "It's a test." Before anyone could ask why, the ship shuddered violently. Controls locked. The air inside the cabin thickened, making it hard to breathe. Then a voice filled the ship, not from the speakers, but inside their minds. "Welcome, visitors. You are neither human nor one of the ascended. Why do you seek the path of those who left flesh behind?" The crew froze. The voice was calm, patient, but it carried power beyond words. Vural stepped forward. "We come to learn, to understand, to survive what we cannot yet fight." "Learning is not enough," the voice replied. "Action defines worth. Only those who comprehend the cost may proceed." Suddenly, the floor beneath them dissolved, or so it seemed. In reality, gravity shifted. The crew found themselves floating in a corridor made entirely of light. Doors opened in impossible sequences. Some led to walls. Others to endless voids. Every choice seemed arbitrary, yet somehow deliberate. A shadow moved ahead, a figure flickering between human and machine. It spoke silently, Yet the words reached their minds. Step wrong, and your consciousness will join the void. Step right, and you may witness what humanity has become. One by one, the crew navigated the lighted corridors. They faced illusions of themselves, clones made of light, showing their deepest fears: failure, loss, betrayal. Ensign Ral confronted a vision of himself abandoning a dying colleague in battle. Lieutenant Cora saw herself betraying her friends for power. Varral confronted a vision of Earth burning under alien weapons, his own failure haunting him. Every challenge forced them to make choices, not just physical, but moral. Each decision carried weight. The ascended humans, though unseen, watched, measuring courage, empathy, and restraint. Hours, or was it days, passed. The corridors seemed endless. The crew grew exhausted, some breaking down in panic. But Varral pressed on, remembering Arya's words: humanity doesn't destroy without reason. They react. Finally, they reached a chamber at the center. Light filled it, forming a perfect sphere. In its middle hovered a human figure, radiant, composed of pure energy. It looked like Arya, but older, changed, transcendent. "You have arrived," the being said, voice like a song. Few understand that approaching the Ascended is not about courage alone. It is about understanding. Varral stepped forward. "We seek guidance. The galaxy is afraid, and humans are feared. We want peace." The being studied him for a moment. "Peace," it repeated, voice echoing through their minds. "Peace requires knowledge of consequence, of what comes when actions are ignored. You walk the path of those who build without remembering those who gave them the tools." Then it extended its hand. In the palm, a holographic map of the galaxy appeared, showing worlds that had vanished, colonies that had fallen, and networks humans had left behind. Machines, AI, and energy constructs waiting, watching. "See," the being said. "This is the result of absence and neglect." The Ascended did not act lightly. They test those who remain, to see if they can change before the storm returns. Varral looked at his crew. Faces pale, eyes wide. He understood, the Ascended were not enemies, but judges. And this test, this trial, was not for survival alone, it was for the galaxy's redemption. The chamber shimmered, then faded. The crew found themselves back on their ship, the city of light nowhere in sight. Screens returned to normal. Gravity restored. But the map remained, the holographic projection glowing softly on the bridge console. The voice spoke one last time, faint, distant, almost a whisper. "Remember this path. Learn it. Live it. Only then may the galaxy endure." Varral looked at the stars, knowing this was only the beginning. Humanity had returned, not with weapons, not with rage, but with a test, a challenge for all who survived. And the real question was clear: would the galaxy pass? Or would it fall before learning what it truly meant to respect humanity? The Galactic Union fleets had never felt fear like this before. Billions of ships, weapons ready, formed a wall of steel and fire around the Sol system. Orders had come from the Council: contain humanity. Stop them. End them. But the moment the Ascended arrived, the fleets realized how wrong they were. It began with a shimmer in space, a ripple moving faster than light. The first human vessel appeared, not solid, but made of energy and light, folding space around itself. It passed through the nearest battlecruiser like air through a window. No explosion. No damage. The cruiser simply vanished, leaving nothing but a faint echo. Commander Varral, watching from the observation deck of the Union flagship, could hardly breathe. It's impossible," he whispered. "Nothing should survive that." Then more appeared. Hundreds of vessels, each glowing with the white-blue light of pure energy. They moved with perfect coordination, silent, graceful, unstoppable. The Union fleet fired everything they had. Missiles, lasers, plasma cannons, all struck the Ascended ships, but the weapons phased through them as if the projectiles were ghosts. And the voice came, not from speakers, but inside the minds of every Union officer. Calm, cold, and absolute. You underestimated us. You thought we were fragile. You were wrong. Panic spread through the ranks. Ships turned on each other in confusion as systems failed, engines shut down, shields flickered. Some fled. Others were vaporized instantly. No one knew where humanity would strike next. They could appear anywhere, warp through space at will. Viral's fleet commander shouted orders, but nothing worked. Hold position. Fire all weapons. Target the energy vessels. Viral shook his head. It's useless. They aren't ships, they are humans, evolved. They react faster than any weapon we have. From the heart of the ascended force, a larger figure emerged. Towering, radiating light, commanding presence. It pulsed with an invisible power. When it moved, space itself seemed to bend around it. A single gesture from the figure and a dozen Union destroyers folded in on themselves, disappearing like they had never existed. Viral realized then the truth. These weren't acts of vengeance. Humanity wasn't here to destroy. They were here to show the galaxy what it had forgotten. But some didn't understand. The Union fleets had followed centuries of fear and arrogance. Weapons continued to fire. And for each attack, the Ascended responded, not with revenge, but with precision. Ships were immobilized, systems frozen, communication networks flooded with visions of human history, human struggle, human sacrifice. Every pilot saw what humanity had endured, what it had built, and why it was now untouchable. On the flagship bridge, chaos erupted. Officers shouted over alarms. Systems overloaded. Screens flashed images of Earth's past. Children playing, inventors working, wars fought and lost. The images pierced minds, showing the cost of underestimating a species that never forgot. Viral looked at the ascended figure and felt awe, fear, and hope all at once. It wasn't cruelty that powered them, it was purpose. Balance. A warning. A smaller energy vessel approached the flagship. Unlike the others, it slowed, hovering near Viral's observation deck. Inside, he saw a human form. Not fully energy, not fully flesh, an elegant combination of both. He recognized the figure instantly. Arya. You see now, she said, voice calm but intense. This is what happens when knowledge is ignored, when power is misused, and when humanity is forgotten. Arya, we didn't know, Viral began. Don't make excuses, she interrupted. Now you understand. The galaxy is not yours to control, Commander. Respect is earned, not demanded. The battle continued, but gradually, ships stopped firing. The Union realized resistance was futile, yet no one was destroyed unnecessarily. Humanity gave no mercy because it was cruel, but because it tested every mind, every choice, every action. Hours passed, though it felt like days. By nightfall, silence returned. The ascended ships withdrew, vanishing into the void. Where they had passed, only remnants of light remained, messages etched across space, showing the galaxy a single phrase repeated in countless languages. Remember us. Respect life. Learn before you act. Viral sat alone on the bridge, trembling. The fleet had survived, but they were humbled. They had looked into the power of humanity, and realized they had been children trying to control gods. And somewhere, far beyond the reaches of space, Arya and the Ascended watched. Not for conquest, not for revenge, but to see whether the galaxy could learn before the next test came. The age of underestimating humanity was over. Silence had returned to the galaxy, but it was uneasy. Fleets hovered near their home systems, still shaken from the demonstration of humanity's power. Entire worlds whispered rumors, stories of vessels made of light, cities folded into themselves, and humans who could bend space, time, and thought. Commander Viral sat in his quarters, staring at the stars. He could still feel Arya's presence, though she had vanished after the last confrontation. His mind replayed every warning, every vision, every silent message etched into space. Remember us. Respect life. Learn before you act. Then, a soft glow filled his room. A holographic projection appeared, shimmering in the darkness. It was Arya. She had returned, but not fully. She was half energy, half flesh, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. "Commander Viral," she said, her voice calm yet powerful. "It is time you understand our purpose." Viral rose slowly. Why did humanity return? Why show us this power? Was it revenge? Arya shook her head. Never revenge. The Ascended have no need for anger. We left to evolve, to survive, to become what flesh could not. We observed the galaxy for centuries. We saw potential, and neglect. She paused, letting the words sink in. The Union, and many others, took humanity for granted. They used what we built. They laughed at our fragility. They forgot us. And when we returned, they feared what they could not control. Viral swallowed hard. So this display of power, it was a warning? Not just a warning, Arya said. Her eyes glowed brighter. It is a test. Humanity does not destroy lightly. We do not conquer for pleasure. We act to teach, to show consequence. Every world, every species that ignored us now knows the cost of forgetting what created them. Viral's hands clenched. What do you want from the galaxy? Arya stepped closer. Balance. Knowledge. Responsibility. We do not wish to rule, nor to enslave. We wish to guide. But guidance cannot be forced. It must be understood. Behind her, the projection expanded. The holographic map of the galaxy appeared again, showing systems where humans had once lived, networks they had built, and colonies lost or abandoned. Lines of light connected planets, stars, and remnants of human-made AI. This is what we left behind, Arya said. All of it. Machines, networks, knowledge. They were tools, but we infused them with memory. So even when we were gone, the galaxy would carry traces of humanity, its creativity, its mistakes, its lessons. Viral's eyes widened. You didn't leave to disappear. You left to watch, to test, to prepare the galaxy for, what? The galaxy's survival, Arya answered. Not just for humans, but for all who share it. There are forces, ancient, hidden, dangerous, that wait. If the galaxy cannot act wisely, these forces will rise. We return not to dominate, but to ensure the universe survives. Viral's voice was quiet. And if we fail? Arya's gaze was steady. Then you will understand the cost. As we do. For a moment, the room was silent. The projection faded, leaving only Arya's flickering form. We are not enemies, she said softly. We are a reminder. Humanity does not act without reason, but it will act when necessary. And the galaxy must be ready. Viral nodded slowly. So this is your plan. To test, to guide, to show the consequences of neglect. And we, our fleets, our species, we are part of that test. Exactly, Arya replied. Every choice you make, every life you save or lose, every alliance you form, it matters. You will not be destroyed for failure, Commander, but you will learn. And the galaxy will either rise or fall depending on what you do next. The glow around her dimmed. Prepare, she said. The next phase begins soon. Watch the stars. Listen. Understand. Humanity has returned, not as conquerors, but as teachers. Those who survive will remember. Those who fail will vanish. And with that, she was gone. Viral slumped in his chair, staring at the empty room. The weight of her words settled on him like a heavy stone. Humanity's plan was clear. They were not here for war. They were here for judgment, for guidance, and for survival. But the question remained, would the galaxy listen, or would it face the consequence of ignoring the ones who once gave it fire? The galaxy was no longer silent. From the outer rims to the shining cores, every signal, every fleet, every leader whispered one name again, humanity. The stars themselves seemed to remember. Their light carried the echoes of human creations, lost satellites, abandoned colonies, and machines that still hummed in forgotten orbits. Commander Varol stood on the command deck of his ship, staring at the view before him. A massive structure floated near a dying star, a ring of light, a gateway, pulsing with power. Humanity called it the Nexus. No one had ever seen it before. No one even knew it existed. And yet, somehow, it had always been there, waiting. Arya's voice echoed in his mind, though her image had long vanished. The next phase begins soon. Watch the stars. Listen. Understand. Suddenly, the ship's sensors came alive. "Commander," his officer shouted, "something is activating inside the Nexus." Varol leaned forward. The center of the ring flared white, expanding like a sun being born. From its core, shapes emerged, ships, massive and graceful, moving with purpose. They weren't like any human designs seen before. These were alive, flowing, almost breathing. A wave of data washed across every channel. A message, simple but powerful, broadcasted across the galaxy. "We are humanity. We return not as conquerors, but as architects of what comes next." Worlds froze. Armies stopped. Even the machines paused their endless routines. Varol whispered, "They're building something." The Nexus flared again, and thousands of beams of light shot across space, touching distant systems, desolate worlds, broken colonies, dying suns. Wherever the beams touched, life began to return. Planets started to repair themselves. Ecosystems healed. Cities rebuilt. It was not war. It was rebirth. But with the light came a warning. Every beam carried a message: balance or be erased. The meaning was clear. Humanity was restoring what the galaxy had broken, but they would not allow it to fall again. In the distant council chambers of the Galactic Union, chaos erupted. "What do they want from us?" one alien shouted. "Peace," another replied bitterly. "But their peace comes with control." Old fears returned. Some saw hope. Others saw domination. But one truth was undeniable: humanity had become something beyond anyone's understanding. Meanwhile, deep within the Nexus, Arya stood on a platform made of living metal. Before her floated thousands of human minds, holograms, AI, spirits of explorers, soldiers, and dreamers. They had returned from the void, each carrying knowledge from ages unseen. "Phase 1 is complete," a voice said behind her. Arya turned. It was Admiral Kane, her mentor, his eyes glowing with starlight. "The galaxy remembers us now," he said. "They will either rise, or collapse under their own arrogance." Arya looked out at the stars. "And if they fail again?" Kane's expression was cold but calm. "Then humanity will start over. We've done it before. We can do it again." A silence fell between them, an endless, heavy silence. Back on Varol's ship, a sudden transmission appeared, directly from the Nexus. He hesitated, then accepted. Arya's voice filled the room once more. "Commander Varol," she said softly, "you have seen enough to understand. This galaxy was once our cradle. Now, it is our responsibility. We are offering a choice, to all who can hear this message." She paused. "Stand with us. Learn, rebuild, and protect what you once destroyed. Or stand against us, and be forgotten by time." The transmission ended. Varol exhaled, his voice trembling. "They've become gods." "No," his second officer said quietly. "They've become guardians." The Nexus continued to glow, spreading light farther and farther. Even the darkest corners of the galaxy began to brighten. The cold void warmed, and the ancient silence began to fade. But in that growing light, something else stirred, a shadow deeper than darkness itself. A massive, unseen presence moved between galaxies, watching. Far beyond human sensors, a single whisper echoed in the void. "They have returned too early." And then, for the first time in millennia, even humanity looked up and felt the chill of fear. Because they realized, There was something out there even greater than them. Something ancient. Something patient. Something waiting. And so, the story of humanity's return was not an ending. It was a beginning.